don't try to go into deep conversation with people whose hearts you haven't reached. Because they're just going to put up walls.
That's true.
So look at the strategy that Jesus did.
Right.
Goes into an environment where we don't get along. Goes in with the intention to break down walls. Breaks down walls, captivates the attention.
Right.
Now he has your attention. Now that I got your attention, I'm going to reach the heart.
I'm going to give deeper.
Now that I've reached the heart, let's go deeper. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the Samaritan woman. In fact, Jesus meets this woman at a well. Crazy story that we're about to get into. So John chapter 4 is where we're going to start. And the story starts in John chapter 4 verse 1. But we'll jump straight into the story and go into John chapter 4 verse 3.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and jump straight into that. John 4 verse 3.
He left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. Verse 5, then comes he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of the ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph.
Okay, let me just pause you really quick. And it's pretty crazy because what does it say? It says that in verse 4, and he must need go through Samaria.
Right.
He didn't need to go through Samaria. Right? But what this is showing us is how serious Jesus took reaching every person.
Intentional.
Very intentional. The only reason he needed to go through Samaria is to reach that one soul.
Exactly.
That was his desire.
Love it.
But he didn't need to.
Right.
But he made it a need. Because you could go around. In fact, the journey was actually longer to go through Samaria. They could have went around and been shorter. But he went through Samaria instead.
Very intentional.
Very intentional.
And verse 6, now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There comes a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, give me to drink.
Okay, so let's stop really quick. Now, this is important to understand the context behind this. So, if you look at verse 6, what is he saying? He's already saying, now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied. So, he was already tired. But he was like, man, it doesn't matter. I want to reach people. He was so interested in helping people that it came to the point that even when he was tired, he was still trying to reach her. Now, let's talk about the Jews and the Samaritans. They had some serious beef.
Yes, they did.
Like, I mean, serious. It was so serious, the only way to describe it is the relationship between a master and a slave. That's how much they disliked each other, right? A slave doesn't like his master.
Right.
And a master pretty much don't like his slave.
Exactly.
So that was literally the equivalent of their relationship. And so the Jews and Samaritans, Jesus, quote unquote, actually shouldn't have been there. And this is why he didn't need to go there, because the Jews never went through Samaria in order to get to their journey. But Jesus was like, I need to go. And so that's a little bit of the history there. And so Jesus meets the Samaritan woman, and she responds in unbelief, which is the verse you were just reading. Go ahead and grab that again.
Verse 7, there comes a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, give me to drink, for his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat.
Okay, that was verse 8. So the point of this is, the reason this verse is there is to emphasize, if the disciples had been there, it would have been a pretty serious issue.
Right.
Because it's like, why are you talking to this? And we see this at the end of this section about the Samaritan woman.
So very calculated.
Very
calculated.
Jesus is so calculated.
He was
it's
like,
crazy.
okay, y'all get some food, y'all get something to drink. I'm going to do this alone. Because he knew.
He knew.
He was very tactful.
He knew.
In the way that he would reach people, reach souls. Yes, so verse 9, then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, ask drink of me, which am of a woman of a Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans.
Okay, so Jesus asked her for a drink. Notice she didn't even give it to him yet, because she's confused.
Right.
She's like, hold on, before I give you water, man, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, why are you even talking to me?
Exactly.
Like, we hate each other. But Jesus is in the business of breaking down barriers.
That wall of partition, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Verse 10, Jesus said and answered and said unto her, if thou knowest the gift of God, and who it is that says to you, give me to drink, you would have asked of him, and he would have given you
Okay.
living water.
Okay. So you might want to touch on that living water, but before we get into going further, Jesus does the same thing she did. One, he asked her for a drink. She didn't answer his question. She didn't give him a drink. She went to something else. Now she's talking to him about, now he responds to her like, if you knew who I was, but that wasn't her question. Her question was pretty much, why are you speaking to us?
Right.
And he does the same thing she did. He doesn't answer her question right away.
Right.
He goes into something else.
And
wow.
I believe when I was doing my study on this before, living water or water means gift of God. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, it actually means gift of God. So God is saying here, Jesus saying, hey, if you knew the gift of God, that water that I'm asking you, that I have, that I would have given you that living water, you would have gave it to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let's continue, and then we'll give it a little context. Verse 11, the woman said unto him, Sir, thou knowest, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence hast thou had the living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life.
Okay. Man, there's just so much to unpack, right? There's just so much going on in here. But the thing that really captivates me, like I really love just seeing Jesus interact with people. But the thing that captivates me is that notice that as he's talking in verse 11, he now has her interest. He piqued her interest, right? If he would have just went into the beginning like, nah, we don't talk to you guys or anything like that, this conversation wouldn't have even gone on.
Of course.
But he piqued her interest. And the thing that's so powerful is Jesus doing this. Because I took a lesson from this, and what we can learn from Jesus is that whenever there's hatred or strong dislike for someone or something like that, Jesus would seek them out and he would break down these barriers. And notice that he's reaching her heart. He's being kind to her. And this kind of reminds me of a quote. And the quote is from Martin Luther King Jr. And he says, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that.
That's true.
And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.
Love awakens love.
And so here Jesus is. He knows the hatred between the Jews and the Samaritans. And what is he doing? He's driving out the hate with love.
Love it. I love it. That's absolutely true.
Wow. And now all of a sudden, the very man she didn't want to talk to, she's having a full-blown conversation with.
A full-blown conversation. Very tactful. You know, the way that he does is a lot of, like you said, a lot of things to unpack.
Verse 15.
Verse 15. The woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come here to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go call your husband.
Okay. So look at this. What Jesus just did is like, now that I have your attention, I'm about to go deeper. And so he's like, go call your husband. But before he even says that, what we see is another lesson. Another lesson that I learned from this is that don't try to go into deep conversation with people whose hearts you haven't reached. Because they're just going to put up walls.
That's true.
So look at the strategy that Jesus did.
Right.
Goes into an environment where we don't get along. Goes in with the intention to break down walls. Breaks down walls, captivates the attention.
Right.
Now he has your attention. Now that I got your attention, I'm going to reach the heart.
I'm going to give deeper.
Now that I've reached the heart, let's go deeper. Because he would have got nowhere if this woman would have come up and he said, serve me some water. Where's your husband?
Exactly.
He would have got nowhere.
It was very...
So look at the strategy, right? Very calculated in the way he's handling this.
I love that. He reached the heart, right? And then he was able now to go deeper and
exactly.
Kind of.
And when he calls her husband, now she's like, oh, okay, yeah, this dude, no, this dude knows something.
Yeah. So she's open. She became open. I like what
because
you
he
said.
reached the heart first.
Right. I like that because a lot of people, they go into directly, trying to minister to people without first reaching the heart, right? And I liken it to, a preacher once said this, the mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open, right? So
I like
Jesus was like, I'm trying to open her up first. I want her to be open before I can give her what I need to give her, the message and the lesson that I need to give her,
I like
right?
that.
So very, very tactful.
Very.
Oh man, just a lot of things that we can learn. Jesus said unto her, go call your husband and come here. Verse 17, the woman answered and said, I have no husband. She was like, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, thou hast said well, I have no husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and him whom thou now hast is not in your husband. In that sayest thou truly.
Now here she is. She's trying to get out of it.
Exactly.
I have no husband.
She's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, let's not talk about this. I have no husband. But then what does Jesus do? Penetrates deeper. And why is he able to do that? Because he's broken down barriers first, and he's reaching the heart.
Right.
And so now she's more open. Notice how she responds. The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. She still don't even know who he is because she called him sir. I perceive that thou art a prophet. Verse 20. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Boom. What is she doing? She's diverting the conversation. And why is she diverting the conversation? She goes into religious controversy. Why? Because she realizes that if this man is a prophet, then he must know something even further about this religious separation that we have. He's able to answer other questions that I may have.
Verse
now,
21?
Before we jump into verse 21, I want to bring out some historical facts.
Okay.
Because what a lot of people don't understand is that on this mountaintop where Jacob's well is, there is this place called Gerizim. And that's a mountain, the Mount of Gerizim. And this mountain had a temple on top of it. Now, why in the world did this mountain have a temple? This is why she feels a little bit salty. Like, you're saying the place to worship is Jerusalem. What in the world? Like, we can't even go there. So how are you going to tell us that's the place to worship? That's why we have this mountain here. Now, if you rewind way back into history, this has actually happened with Ezra. So when Ezra was rebuilding the temple back in that time in the Old Testament, when they were rebuilding the temple, what took place is that they kicked out the Samaritans. Samaritans were not allowed to worship together. And one of the reasons, it wasn't that they were just being rude. I mean, I'm sure there's a component of that. But one of the reasons they kicked out the Samaritans is because they were into idol worship. And they were like, nah, we can't have this. And so that temple that she's talking about, or that location, Mount Gerizim, where that's at, that is a place where the temple was destroyed.
Good context.
So there is no temple there. And they could actually see that location from that mountain. And this is important because the next few verses that we're going to read that Jesus said is the reason he's talking about this.
Very well. Verse 21.
Yeah.
Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour comes when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father.
Okay, and that's the context. That's why he's addressing that.
Right.
He's like, hey, it's deeper than this.
Verse 22, you worship, you know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour, verse 23, comes, and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth.
Okay, so what is happening right here? What's taking place is that Jesus is talking to her, and what he's doing is he has no prejudice. He's showing her that. But now if you listen to the way he's talking to her and the questions that he's asking and what he's telling her, he's breaking down the prejudice that she has towards the Jews. So the first thing he comes in and does is, I have no prejudice towards you Samaritans.
Love it.
And then what happens next? Now that I've broken down those barriers, let me break down your barriers. So there's a time coming. Where you will neither worship here on this mountain. He's showing that, hey, I'm not a God of segregation.
Love it.
I want it to be united.
That's right. That's right.
And he's now breaking down those barriers on their side.
And the segregation issue, because Jesus knew that it's a it's a sensitive topic, it's a sensitive issue, right? So I love what he did. He didn't preach this amongst the throng, a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I love how this is like a personal ministry, a one-on-one ministry.
100%.
And when you look at Jesus' ministry, he often does this in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
He would just go for that one demoniac across the Sea of Galilee. Then here, he would go here just for this one person.
Yep.
Right? Because he knew that if I would do this around other people, it wouldn't look right. Right?
Yeah.
So he would always do this a one-on-one personal ministry. Love it. Mm-hmm. So verse 23 or verse 24, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman said unto him, I know that Messiah comes, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things.
And that just goes to confirm right there that she doesn't realize that he is the Messiah.
Yeah, but she's getting the conviction, as you can see.
It's starting to click.
Exactly.
Yeah, so she's digging deeper.
Yeah. And then, verse 26, Jesus says unto her, I is that you speak unto thee, am he. I am that Messiah.
Yeah.
Verse 27, and upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with the woman. Now the disciples came from the food, right?
Yep. And that just goes to show you the history that I brought out earlier, how much they disliked each other.
Right.
They're surprised that he's even speaking to her.
Absolutely. And that's why he was like, whoa, they marveled. They were surprised.
Yeah.
Yet no man says, what seekest thou, or why talkest thou with her? Verse 28, the woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city and says unto the men, come see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is not this the Christ?
Okay, this is crazy. And the reason this is crazy is, what did Jesus ask her for? In the very beginning.
What did Jesus ask her for?
Yes.
Something to drink.
Bro, she's so excited. Jesus has literally helped this woman so much. She's so joyful. What does it say? The woman left her water pot.
Yeah, she was there.
Okay, so not only does she not give Jesus water, but her purpose in being there was to get water. Now, here's some more context in history. Nobody went to the well in the daytime.
Exactly.
Because of how hot it was.
What? That was a noontime, right?
Yes, it was at noon.
Yep.
Nobody went during that time. But Jesus knew she was going because she wanted to be separated because of her shame and guilt
by herself
of all those men she had been with. And Jesus pinpointed that time. Now, here's this same woman that had guilt and fear is running down because of the joy that Christ has brought her.
Christ, man, is the beauty of his character, brother. Like, he could have waited until sundown.
Yeah.
He could have waited early morning when it wasn't. I mean, noontime is the hottest time.
Hottest time.
But then
he was already exhausted,
and he was exhausted and thirsty. But just the intentionality to reach one soul, even despite of the circumstances. Because for us, we would be like, nah, man, I'll deal with that probably in the evening when it's not hot.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But he did it like at the worst time for him. But yet he did it to try to seek this one soul. That just shows the value of one soul.
Yeah.
Right? Just the value of one soul to Christ is just like the value that he sees in that is infinite. Is absolutely infinite.
As I'm looking over this story, and I want you to notice something through everything that Jesus revealed to her. Can you tell me where he rebuked or condemned her?
There is no way. Right. I love that.
Oh my goodness.
That's true.
Hold on. That is so
important.
So powerful. And you know why? Because whenever we meet somebody that we know their deepest secrets,
right,
and we want to help them, quote unquote, what do? We rebuke and condemn.
Come on.
And bro, not once did Jesus rebuke or even condemn this woman.
Exactly.
Not once. It wasn't even a topic of discussion.
Right.
Even though, according to what she did,
right,
according to the law, she deserved to be disciplined. Jesus skipped over it. And I love this because this is the example we should be following. And what I see here from Jesus is this leadership principle that's called money in the bank. Now, what this principle is the money in the bank principle is that every person that you meet, you have a certain amount of money in the bank with them. Now, you may meet them and have $1 in the bank, right? Or you might have cents in the bank.
Right.
But through encounters and stuff like that, you build up money in the bank with them. So that when you rebuke or condemn, you withdraw from the balance that you have. Now, here's the thing. You may have someone that is, you have $1 million in the bank with them, which is a good amount of money. But every time you rebuke, you pull out 1.1 million.
Right.
Now, the problem is you're 100,000 in the hole. You're a $100,000 deficit in money in the bank principle with them. So to rebuild back up, coming out of that negative is going to take a long time with that person.
Right.
And so just because you might have a lot of money in the bank with that person doesn't mean that you have a lot to withdraw from, because your withdrawals may be large amounts.
Good point.
So what does Jesus do? All he does is deposit. That's all he's doing.
Right.
He's just keep putting money in the bank with this woman, building the relationship with her, and not once does he condemn. And this is a lesson that we can learn, and that all of the watchers that you can take is that as you build relationships with people, remember the money in the bank principle. And when you go to that person, don't always be so quick to rebuke them or to condemn them for what they did, but reach their heart, break down the barriers, go deep with that person before you start trying to withdraw or
Powerful.
Rebuke or condemn.
Very, very good point.
Yeah.
So build that relationship first.
That's what Jesus did.
Right.
He didn't address anything. Could he have addressed her life of having 5 husbands?
Right.
Absolutely.
Of course, right away.
He could have.
But then he didn't.
But he knew he wouldn't get anywhere.
Exactly.
And how do we know that? Let's keep going. Because this gets deep. Jesus knew what he was doing. Remember, everything he does is calculated. Verse
28.
Okay, 28.
The woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city and says to the men, "Come see a man which told me all things that I ever did. Is not this the Christ?" Then they went out of the city and came unto him. In the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, "Master, eat." But he said unto them, "I have meat to eat that you know not of." Therefore said the disciples one to another, "Hath any man brought him aught to eat, something to eat?" Jesus said unto him, "My meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Say not ye that there are yet 4 months, then comes the harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And he that reaps receives the wages, and he that gathereth the fruit unto life eternal, that both he that sows and he that reapeth may rejoice together. And herein is that saying true, one sows and another reaps. I sent to you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor, other men labored, and ye are entered into their labor."
Okay, this is powerful because what Jesus is doing is he's predicting the next thing that's about to happen, right? He says in verse 38, "I sent you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor, other men labored." Right? Jesus labored. They're about to reap the benefits of the barriers that Jesus broke down.
That's true.
That's what they're about to
That's
get.
true.
They're about to reap those benefits. And ye entered into their labors. You entered into Jesus' labor. We even nowadays enter into Jesus' labor.
That's true.
And so this is a powerful story of how he's using this harvest. And the beautiful lesson that I learned from this for myself is that sometimes in life, you will plant the harvest and someone else will reap it. So don't give up on somebody
That's true.
that you're praying for, because the harvest, you put something down, but it may be reaped later in life.
Good point.
And there's a verse in Galatians that talks about that. I can't think of the verse right now, but in Galatians it talks about reaping the harvest, or that you reap what you sow.
Right.
And so verse 39, notice, because, watch this, because Jesus didn't condemn her, she went off joyful. Look at the result of her joyfulness.
Beautiful. 39, and many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for the saying of the woman, which testified, he told me all that I ever did. So when the Samaritans came unto him, they besought him that he would tarry with them, and he abode there 2 days.
Okay, stop really quick. At the beginning of this story, we talked about the history with the Samaritans and the Jews. They hated each other, right? They hated each other to the point of what a master and a slave relationship. Verse 39, and many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for the saying of the woman.
Right.
Testimony.
Yeah.
Watch this. If Jesus condemned her, there would be no testimony right here. Testimony, which testified. He told me all that I ever did. Verse 40, so when the Samaritans were come unto him, now they're coming unto him. First she was there, confused. Why is he asking me anything? And now Samaritans are starting to come to him. They besought him that he would tarry with them. Hey, look, we ain't just coming to you. Because it could have been that they came to him to kick him out. Right. No. Please stay.
Yes.
Right? Please stay. And he stayed with them 2 days. Simply because instead of rebuking and condemning her, he broke down walls, cared for her, had value, and now you have a testimony where more people were coming. Hence, what is about to happen? These disciples are about to reap the labor that Jesus did.
Of that woman. Let's finish it off. And many more believed because of his own word, and said unto the woman, now we believe, not because of your saying, for we have heard him ourselves and know that this indeed is the Christ, the Savior of the world.
This makes me think of the verse that says, taste and see
that the Lord is good.
That the Lord is good.
For yourself, right?
Right? It's not something that you can do for me. In order for me to understand how good the Lord tastes, I must taste and see
that the Lord
is
for
good.
myself.
For myself.
And not just so that's powerful, because sometimes we can go by our Christianity by someone else's testimony.
Yes.
But it's something different, Brother Calvin, when it's your own personal experience with Christ. And then she had this experience with Christ. Man, she brought a whole village. Literally. For Christ. And that's just so powerful because, man, she was an evangelist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how? Because Christ's method alone will give true success in reaching the people. And he mingled with her as one who desires her good. He showed sympathy for her. He ministered to her need, and then won her confidence. Broke down the barriers you had mentioned, and broke down the partitions, right? And reached her heart. And then he was able to reach her, and not only reach her, but reach many more people.
100%.
Because of his
This is a ripple effect. This is a ripple effect. This is going on till today.
To today.
And so,
what a powerful story.
What's so powerful is that his love for this woman and breaking down barriers is what opened the opportunity.
And he did not, like you mentioned, reiterate. We cannot reiterate this enough. He did not condemn her.
He didn't.
No and rebuke, the problem with us is we see, first and foremost, we see the sin. Right? That this person did, the sinner of this, what this person has done. And it's like Jesus didn't even worry about that first.
He didn't.
He dealt with that in the end. Right? But won her confidence first. Powerful lessons.
And there you have it. That's the story of the woman at the well. Until next time. Peace.